Welcome to the beat. I'm Ari Melber, and we're following a lot tonight. Trump DOJ has launched a criminal probe against another political target. It gives away the lie that these are real investigations. We're going to call it as we see it. If there is criminal evidence against these people, we'll tell you about it. But right now, it is a scandal engulfing the Trump administration. That's coming up. And also why these Epstein survivors who are trying to take back a story that's been hijacked say they're naming names. So that's coming up. But right now, we begin with RFK Jr. under fire for a health agenda that experts and doctors say will put millions of more people in danger, especially if people listen to RFK Jr. The secretary testifying, facing tough questions about a bunch of the controversial moves he has been making. And while at times this can feel like Washington theater or another MAGA partisan problem, remember the underlying issues of science, of healthcare, of the information that goes out from the government to hospitals and schools, this is not and should not be partisan at all. So while we could cover this many different ways, I want to begin by showing you a Republican, if you're keeping track of party, still pressing RFK Jr.'s anti-vaccine approach by invoking a true, if politically difficult, reality. So I'm going to show you this clip, but here's the quick context. Remember, in the first term, President Trump backed the federal government push for the original COVID vaccine. He would walk out to the cameras sometimes with Dr. Fauci. He would talk about how things were going to get better. He would vow the vaccine was coming soon. He even told one journalist he wanted more action on that before the election because he thought it would help him politically. He admitted that. Pro-vaccine. Trump touted the vaccine as a way out of COVID. He and his aides talked about something, you might remember the terminology, warp speed effort. There's The Guardian, 2020. Trump unveils a warp speed effort to create the vaccine by year's end. Now, RFK Jr., picked by Trump, the buck stops with the president, serves the Trump administration, but is completely contradicting and going against this thing they touted and built. Here's that exchange.
Do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That
So
was phenomenal.
let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID. You engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
Senator Cantwell.
You're wrong.
That's the bit of the exchange. These are some of the headlines. And remember, we are going to fact check this. We showed you more of the Republicans' questions, which were rooted in facts, than a long part of RFK's answers, because we're not just going to show long clips of RFK doing the bad thing on behalf of the government that even Republicans object to. He was pressed on purging the CDC, firing a top scientist who said they were told to pre-approve recommendations of a vaccine panel filled with people who publicly expressed anti-vaccine rhetoric, says that former official turned basically a whistleblower. Here's what RFK Jr. then told Democratic senators when questioned about that.
Did you
Medicaid will
tell
still
the
pay.
head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign?
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, "Are you a trustworthy person?" And she said no. So
What?
if
Are you telling us that the former head of CDC went to you? You asked her, "Are you a trustworthy person?" And she said, "No, I am not a trustworthy person."
It went on like that. RFK Jr. has talked up a lot of things that come out of his mind, not out of science. He's spread misinformation about antidepressants. He says he has his own version of interventions that he thinks relate to autism. And he's talked about observing or diagnosing kids, minors, by looking at them. Again, we're not going to show you everything that went down in the hearing, although it is notable, even in this partisan MAGA era, that at times Republicans and Democrats both questioned this individual who, because of Donald Trump, that's where the buck stops, has an incredible amount of sway over what your tax dollars are doing in funding and affecting government programs and safety from hospitals to schools. It's that simple. I want to bring in Dr. Howard Dean, who knows medicine and politics, former DNC chair for governor, and Alex Wagner, our friend, MSNBC analyst, host of the Trump Land podcast, who knows a thing or two about trying to keep sane in these times. Good to see you.
It's great to see you.
I'm going to start with the doctor.
I think that's right.
You know what? I think
I
Governor.
just play one on TV, so go with the guy with the.
Although Alex Wagner, as a celebrated journalist, I think will be interesting on the politics and honestly the MAGA propaganda of this. But Dr. Dean, what's important about today, and is RFK Jr. Fit for this job?
No, but he never was fit for the job. He's a crackpot. But here's the interesting thing about this. I've been thinking about this during the day. This is possibly the wedge issue that begins to literally divide the United States as a result of his nuttiness and as a result of the victims of his nuttiness, which are going to be children, lots of children. That the states on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and California, have essentially put together their own CDC. I think New England's going to join them. Massachusetts has talked about it already. I wouldn't be surprised if New York and some other places like Pennsylvania joined them. So you're going to have essentially two authorities, the CDC run by a crackpot, and then you're going to have a lot of states ignoring the federal government and making their own rules about all this stuff. That is a big divide and is a big change in the way that government has been operating in the United States for the last 100 years.
And Governor, what did you think about the exchange about the vaccine? Because public health messaging matters. We all lived through COVID and saw that period. And it is striking to see and be reminded of how, from President Trump on down, they were touting the speedy vaccine that now his own health secretary attacks.
Well, I thought it was particularly amusing when he said, "Oh, yeah, but he was supporting Clorox enemas and all that stuff. That was the good stuff." I mean, this guy's a wacko, right? But here's the other interesting thing about this. So yesterday, the Surgeon General, backed up by the governor in Florida, said that they were going to get rid of all vaccine mandates. Now, would you take your children to Disney World if you thought they might be exposed to a whooping cough? Even people who have been vaccinated can become troubled and can spread the disease if they're in a huge tank of people who have no vaccination. These are fatal diseases if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Small children will die because of this. It again brings the issue is how many people are going to go to Disney World if this happens in Florida? I wouldn't take my children down. They're grandchildren. And there's a lot of shaking and shattering that's going to go on in the United States of America. Because one people think you may like Trump and you may hate Trump, but one thing people are going to agree on in the United States of America is our children come first and we care about our children and we are not going to endanger them.
Yeah, I want to bring in Alex, there's a reality test to this. Being a podcaster who talks about the FBI is different than running it.
Yep.
Being a longtime sort of rich, elite, coastal liberal Democrat, that's what he was. That's who Donald Trump picked. It's like there's exceptions for everything. But it's like a version of having George Clooney run something if he also was full of misinformation, by which I mean, it's not like RFK is coming out of some MAGA history.
Yeah.
For political reasons and the independent vote of whatever that was, Trump just hands the keys to a perversion of the Kennedy legacy, and here we are. And so to the politics of it, what does it matter to people when they actually have to live under this reality?
Well, I mean, first of all, this is already killing children, right? I think the flu deaths for this year, this past winter, when Trump was in office, have skyrocketed to the highest rate since 2009. 278 children died of the flu this year, which is a dramatic increase. 90% of them were not vaccinated. RFK likes talking about the infant mortality rate has gone up and he tries to blame it on Biden. By and large, the reason the infant mortality rate went up is because Texas outlawed abortion and women can't get the health care that they need. There are children dying as a direct result of Trump policies and the conservative agenda, right? So it's not just making fun of a wildly incoherent and utterly ignorant person testifying on the Hill. It's looking at the dramatic and real world effects, the fatal effects of this kind of misinformation. I was stunned by not just his incoherent, seemingly hypocritical attitude towards Operation Warp Speed, But the fact that he doesn't know about Medicare premium increases,
Yeah.
he doesn't know how many people died of COVID-19. He never met with the vaccine experts at the CDC before the CDC building was shot up. He never talked to the people who have the science before he embarked on a radical reorientation of American vaccine policy. This is someone who doesn't have his head in the sand. He has blinded himself. And the people that are going to pay for it are American children. And I totally agree with Dr. Dean on this. You know, it is one thing to kind of live the MAGA experience in the abstract. It is another thing when your child is at risk of dying
Yeah.
because of a political agenda. And what we saw on the Hill today was staggering and scandalous and completely unacceptable in terms of American
Yeah.
policy.
And I appreciate you're speaking about it as what the facts are, not normalizing it. Oh, here we go again. No, you're speaking about the actual standard. Dr. Dean, there was also this exchange where you reminded that RFK Jr. is bad at this. He seems comfortable saying a lot of loony, false things, and then other times says, but he's not anti-vax. It's almost as if the one talking point you got from some media training was, well, don't admit to that. That's too far. Here was an exchange with Senator Smith.
So let me ask you, when were you lying, sir? When you told this committee that you were not anti-vax, or when you told Americans that there's no safe and effective vaccine?
Both things are true.
Dr. Dean?
Yeah, well, look, we're not going to dissect this guy. I mean, he's a wacko. If somebody were muttering and mumbling as we're walking down the street, you're not going to dissect what he says. And so this is a waste of time.
I'll let you finish, but we do that from time to time.
Listening to
these
Bobby
days.
Kennedy is a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about science. He doesn't even know what he believes. He is driven by something that I wouldn't want to try to diagnose as a psychiatrist. I don't know what it is, but he's the wrong guy for this job. That's for damn sure.
Can I say, I think the reason it's worth paying attention to his incoherence on Operation Warp Speed is because it's a wedge that Democrats and reasonable Republicans, I guess there's at least one left in the Senate, are trying to drive between him and Trump. You know, they began this day saying, we want Bobby Kennedy out as HHS secretary, and the way we're going to do that is trying to pit him against dear leader Trump. And we're going to try and stoke Trump's ego and say, you don't like Operation Warp Speed, it's one of Trump's crowning achievements, and he should be celebrated for it, and say something good about it or say something bad about it. We're going to use this against you as a cudgel. And I don't know that it worked, because Kennedy was trying to have it both ways, but this is clear political strategy on the part of Democrats who see that as the daylight that they can use to their advantage to try and weaken RFK's position in the administration.
Yeah, I think, again, you're speaking to the politics that are based on something true, which is things can get worse, which is why you have
Absolutely.
to stay engaged in society. And some people are longing for the days when Donald Trump was vocally pro-vaccine, which was just last term. I'm going to fit in a break. Governor Dean, I'll give you a quick pop quiz, okay?
Sure.
What's coming up on the rest of the beat? Is it more Alex Wagner? Is it Wu-Tang Clan's Ghostface Killah? Or is it both?
It's both.
It was both. The answer was see, smart
Medical
guy.
degree, TV degree.
TV degree. Well, he's been around. We know how teases, because teases, we don't know if they work. They'll say, hey, tell people what's coming up. We have no idea. I think Alex would. We have no idea.
I knew I was going to stick around. I knew.
No, but do you know whether people watch more if we name upcoming
Oh,
things?
yeah.
They do?
I mean, don't take it from me.
I don't know if, we don't know if it works, but we know that we tell people
We're
what's coming up.
testing a hypothesis, very medical.
Yeah, and Howard Dean
scientific.
knows. I wouldn't mention a bunch of guests who
I
aren't
think
coming.
it works.
All right. Our thanks to Governor Dean. As mentioned, it's Wu-Tang Night on the beat coming up. But first, the Trump DOJ going after opponents and the naming of the Epstein names finally. We have our shortest break. I'm back with you in 90 seconds. Turning to an issue for Donald Trump that simply won't go away. Trump aides had hoped to quiet this by Labor Day, get it done in the summer. That's not happening. Jeffrey Epstein's accusers demanding accountability. They've got bipartisan backing. Republicans have also joined, some of them, the chorus of those saying it's time to release those Epstein files, which the Trump administration has clearly been not only hiding, but sometimes misleadingly so by claiming they're releasing something, then it's nothing. Republican MTG, who says she will support the bill to override House Republican leadership that are defending Trump and the secrecy to try to get the documents, says she also will try to play a role to reveal the names.
It's a scary thing to name names, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor and I'll say every damn name that abused these women.
That was at that press conference. Today, the issue goes forward. Congressman Massey discussing who could be on this list.
I don't think Donald Trump's name is on the list. No, I think there are probably some people in his administration who would be embarrassed, like Acosta. I think there are some very rich donors to the Republican Party and some, ironically, to the Democratic Party as well, who are going to be on that list.
The entire issue, as we've covered, has moved farther and farther away from the facts, what happened, what the DOJ did or failed to do, and why so many of the women, so many of the accusers have been completely mistreated through this process. Often, not exclusively, but often by leadership of the Trump administration. And so it was important that we witnessed this time for them to speak in their own voice about what they've been through.
After meeting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, it felt like someone shut off the lights to my soul.
I have never been more scared in my life than I was that first time that he hurt me. I remember crying the entire way home, thinking about how I couldn't ever tell anyone about what actually happened in that house.
He gave me an ultimatum. Either you come here and massage me when I call you, or you bring me friends of yours to massage.
The days of sweeping this under the rug are over. We, the survivors, say no more.
These are real people dealing with real crimes that too often have been weaponized for political reasons. We are going to stay on the story, and I'm going to get back into it with Alex Wagner when we return. We're back with Alex Wagner, of course, our MSNBC colleague, senior political analyst. She's also the author of Future Face. Alex, a lot of times these days, the task, the challenge is to hold the line about how things are and what the facts are and not get normalized that we just saw. These women's stories were completely politically weaponized while, as they said yesterday, the Trump DOJ and Trump officials didn't brief them, didn't consult with them. They say, not my words, didn't care about them as victims of the crimes that the administration claims they still are focused on.
I would say I actually think the thing that was weaponized was the Jeffrey Epstein controversy. And actually, the women were the last thing that this administration and those who seek to cover up more information were considering. I think what we saw yesterday was a recentering of the victims at the heart of the story. And that is essential, I think, in pushing this past partisan politics. Side note, a few of the women got up at the podium yesterday and said, were Republicans. They didn't say who they voted for, but they really want to make clear to the American public, this isn't about taking down an administration we don't agree with. This is about our truth. This is about being abused. This is about surviving abuse, and this is about getting to the truth. And I think the reality of them coming forward like this is that it now pits those who want transparency on the side of the victims and those who don't. It pits them against the victims. And that is a very challenging fight to wage, to be out there. It's not that they're fighting. And the president said yesterday in the Oval Office, this is a Democrat hoax. The women out there aren't part of a Democrat hoax. These are women who are survivors. And I think the country looks at these, hears these stories, looks at these women and says, this isn't about Democrats trying to gain a leg up on Trump. This is about women who have gone through something horrible, trying to get at the essence of that hurt and trying to find some kind of closure here. And if you're standing in their way, then you're against these women and these survivors.
And the obsession or conspiracy theory, which it's hard for people to appreciate if you don't spend a lot of time on the MAGA digital spaces and podcasts. This is a huge, long-running thing.
Yeah.
What we're now witnessing is months now of the difference between treating it as content and the more messy, factually related process of treating it as reality. That hasn't gone as well for the Trump administration.
Well, I mean, it does beg the question, why did Trump gin up all of this heat around Jeffrey Epstein beginning in 2015 if he knew the information in the files was not politically expedient at best for him, right? But the reality is that the reason this theory and the Jeffrey Epstein controversy and saga and crimes are so resonant with the MAGA base is because it gets to the essential proposition of MAGAism, which is there is a cabal of elites that are out there to screw you. And they are doing everything in their power to keep you down, to keep you in the dark, and to keep the real truth in the shadows, right? Epstein is a placeholder for that feeling,
Right.
for that thesis. And that's why it's also not going away. I mean, you have some MAGA members of Congress who are trying to brush this under the rug. You have some people at the office of the Director of National Intelligence who are trying to brush this under the rug. You have the House leadership and the Speaker of the House trying to further the president's political ends by brushing this under the rug. But the reality is MAGAverse writ large, from Joe Rogan on, is still very much interested in what's happening here. It's not going away. And you have the added fuel in the fire of the victims coming forward, taking it out of the Washington firefight mud pit and saying, we want the truth. And by the way, if we can't get the truth, we're going to release a name of the client list on our own.
On our own. Yeah,
That
exactly.
is high stakes, Ari.
Yeah. We love when you come by.
I love coming by.
Straight facts.
I mean, I'll just, take a couple lighters, few pens, some cough drops,
We'll find you a lighter.
borrow the jacket. I don't know.
We got cough
Thanks
drops
so
right
much.
here.
Thanks.
Uh,
I'm done
cough
with TV
drops.
for the night, but
Well,
it did
come
just
back.
for my long nightlife.
Alex Wagner,
I appreciate
the one and
you.
only. Thank you. When we come back, we've got Andrew Ross Sorkin and Ghostface Killah and the Trump free market crash out. Stay with us. Donald Trump wants to control everything, and the financial markets are finding they don't like it. Trump's DOJ is now opening what they're calling a criminal investigation into an independent Federal Reserve official, Lisa Cook, who Trump is already trying to oust, which raises questions over whether this is a sham or partisan probe to continue to hassle her out of a job. Cook, meanwhile, is taking Trump to court, saying that he has not substantiated the high bar it takes to oust an independent federal official like that from the Fed. The new criminal probe follows a referral from a Trump appointee to the Housing Finance Agency. We also have today, in an exchange with CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, an official refusing to even explain the basis for investigating this official, Cook.
Can you speak directly to how this came about in terms of going and looking at her work?
Our agency discovered it, Andrew, independent of anyone else. As I said, we received a tip.
This tip came from where?
Well, you have to understand, of course, as part of a federal investigation, I'm not going to explain our sources and methods, where we get tips from.
This goes to the political weaponization issue, because if, for example, the tip came from inside the administration or came from even inside your agency with somebody who works for you who decided, you know what, I looked through this and I need you to look into this, then that creates the perception issues.
Important questions, not a ton of answers yet. The probe comes amidst this pressure on the Fed. Trump says he wants a majority. He wants to have partisan control of this part of our financial banking system, which is exactly what the law tries to prevent. That's if his future nominees are confirmed. Lawmakers, meanwhile, grilling his latest selection.
Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election?
Joe Biden was certified by Congress as the president of the United States.
Right.
in
So did
January
Donald Trump
2021.
lose that election?
As I just said, Joe Biden was
Did
certified
Donald
by
Trump
the Congress.
lose that election? Can you say the words Donald Trump lost that election? Are you independent enough to say that?
The Congress certified Joe Biden
Ooh,
as president
all
of the
right.
United States.
Almost an odd kind of moment, which fits with the larger autocratic questions. And while you could understand if a vice president doesn't want to say that about Donald Trump because that's his weird reality test, these are supposed to be independent officials. The aforementioned Andrew Ross Sorkin, CNBC Squawk Box co-host, New York Times columnist, co-creator of Billions, joins us now. Welcome.
Thank you.
You interview people. We do that too.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want them to come back, but did you think there was anything important or even concerning about what you got there?
I think you want to know whether what Bill Pulte is trying to do and what this administration is trying to do vis-a-vis Lisa Cook has a political overtone or is a political weapon. I think that
Is it on the level? Yeah.
I think that's a fundamental question. By the way, that does not take away from the idea that it is possible that Lisa Cook did something that's improper. And I think we can hold both. It's actually what I said to Bill Pulte today. We can hold both ideas in our head at the same time. It is possible that she did something wrong. It is also possible that the prosecution of her and or the investigation that's taking place was politically motivated.
And the official you interviewed could also have said, we're not going to get into sources and methods, but this did not come from anyone on high in the Trump administration. I didn't hear that.
I did not hear that. And I think that's why there's so much concern about whether this is just another example of this idea of political weaponization. Now, look, President Trump believed that the Democrats, were politically weaponized against him. But what's so interesting about that is, if that's even true, part of his entire argument about getting into this office was that he was not, I didn't think, going to use politics as a weapon. And it is clear that politics is now a weapon. But this is part of a larger story as it relates to the Federal Reserve, to the extent that he really does. I mean, you showed that word majority. I have never heard the President of the United States or almost anybody describe the Federal Reserve, which is supposed to be a completely independent entity, almost in the same way that you would describe Congress, or increasingly, unfortunately, the way you would describe the Supreme Court. This idea of, I'm going to control a majority. And there's another piece of that story, which I don't think people are paying enough attention to, which is, if you can get a majority of the Federal Reserve, it's not just that you control effectively interest rates to some degree. It's that you can almost do it generationally. So one of the things that's very interesting, it's going to happen this February, is the Federal Reserve, the governors of the Federal Reserve, they get to effectively approve all of the regional presidents of the various Federal Reserves from around the country. And so it is possible, if you control the majority, that when Austin Goolsbee, who, by the way, is the president of the Federal Reserve in Chicago, gets renominated to this role, you could say, don't bring me Austin Goolsbee. He used to work for Obama. We don't like Austin Goolsbee.
Right, because he wants full control.
And those people, every couple of years, get to become voting members of the Federal Reserve. So when I say generational, if you can create a majority and then put 12 other people in place, you can actually do this for quite some time.
Yeah. Free markets. Foundation of our system, right?
Well, we say there's free markets, yes. But I mean, I think one of the things that's very interesting about what we're now seeing from this president as it relates to taking stakes in Intel, as it relates to...
Well, that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, we're going to take a stake in...
How does Wall Street feel now finding out that this is a more interventionist administration than they've had under either party in recent eras? I mean, so much of Wall Street said, well, they came up with the reasons they were opposed to Harris and Biden. They said, well, they didn't love it, but they're going to give him a shot. And now they have this intervention.
Look, I think that every single person I know who's running a company today is to some degree scared of the White House and the role the White House is going to play potentially in their business. There's no question. We talked about it earlier, a couple of weeks or maybe a month ago, whether it was law firms or whether it was Harvard and the universities. And Intel, and now, taking a potential revenue share effectively with NVIDIA and AMD to let them sell some of these chips to China, is just another example that this administration wants to have a real controlling stake in a lot of these businesses. By the way, the president says it out loud. He says, I want to own more of business. And in fact, you're going to, I think, see him start a sovereign wealth fund at some point. Now, they may say those are passive stakes.
But so make it make sense, because the bankers and the financial leadership are supposed to be smart.
Right.
They have a fiduciary duty to their company. You're telling me that they're running around scared of Trump and having to hand off profits or pieces of their companies, like it's some sort of MAGA Cuba. Do they realize they made a mistake by that standard then?
I think by that standard, the answer is yes. I think the answer may be no, or more muddled in the following context. I think they say to themselves, look, he's going to be in this role for the next 3 years. We could go on TV and shout from the rooftops about how we don't think this is the appropriate way to do business. We don't think the politicians, the president should be involved in this. But they think, not that they're playing a short-term game, they think they're playing a long game, which is they're trying to live to fight another day with the view that, a couple of years from now, hopefully they would be able to go into a new world where this is not going to happen. And if they raise their hand right now and say whatever they're going to say, they may not have the opportunity to do that.
Well, you know what Bob Marley said.
What did Bob Marley say?
He who fight and run away lives to fight another day.
And that may very well be the mantra that is corporate America.
Unless nobody fights, in which case you lose your country and your free markets. And then eventually your precious wealth, as we've seen in
that's the
other
question. Look,
countries.
there's a question as to, is there going to be a moment? And maybe this is the moment. Is this the moment? Is the moment in a year from now? Is the moment where is the line with which this president would have to, quote unquote, cross that would inspire enough business leaders who you'd think have means because they have enormous amounts of money to stand up and say whatever they're going to say in a collective action? Because the other piece of this is they are so worried, as we've discussed, that if they didn't, if they went up individually and raised their hand, that they think that would create their own
you
problem.
put your finger on it with collective action. And again, if you, in some countries, well, maybe we won't become that type of country, but in some countries, you wait too long, it's too late. Then you're looking back at, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? I have to fit in a break.
Okay.
You know the financial concept of cream.
Of cream?
Cream, C-R-E-A-M. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. We will explain that. Sorkin comes back after this. Now we turn to an unbelievable fallback. You know the beat? Iron Man edition. The two superheroes in their respective fields. Boom. One of the most renowned financial journalists in the nation, CNBC anchor Andrew Ross Sorkin, has spent 20 years plus as founder-editor of the New York Times Deal Book, a Business News Hub annual summit, author of books about America's financial crises, the forthcoming 1929 and Too Big to Fail, which led to the HBO film. Sorkin also helped create the Showtime series Billions. The man's busy.
Yeah.
And we are joined by rap royalty. Wu-Tang Clan star Ghostface Killah. Hip-hop's Tony Stark, the Staten Island artist, creates his own world with lyrical storytelling, drawing on comic books, kung fu movies, and even political history. For, did Ghostface not say, rough, tough like an elephant tusk, head rush, fly like Egyptian musk, Wu-Tang Clan spark the wick sand, master the trick just like Nixon.
Right.
You say it better, but that's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The new album is Supreme Clientele 2, building on a classic career that is beloved around the world.
Thank you.
I give an order to my peeps across the water to go and snatch up props all around the border and get far like a shooting star. Pursue our all is living the life Apollo Escobar.
Sometimes I look up at the stars and analyze the sky and ask myself, was I meant to be here? Why?
Superb like bird and magic, a real deep thinker with silk words that's smoother than virgin fabric.
Tonight is the first time that CNBC's Sorkin and Wu's Ghostface have appeared together. We imagine them here tonight with new AI.
Yeah.
They stand on business. And as Wu-Tang says, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah.
We know you love money or writing about
bill,
it.
y'all. Absolutely. I love this.
What a nice pairing.
Yeah, man. Money, really, the cash rule click.
There you go.
We talk cash. We talk
Maybe
money.
they'll take you on tour. Who knows?
Oh, no doubt. He's ready for it. I'll be ready for it.
Thanks for coming back on the beat. It's great to see you doing
Thank
your
you.
thing.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot we was on
the roof.
Yes.
Yeah. How's it feel with the new album?
Nah, it feels great. That's my part 2 from the first one, Supreme Clientele. You know what I mean? It took me a minute to, I've been saving songs throughout it was 25 years ago. So I've been like putting songs in the back to the stash, just in case if I want to use that. Use those songs, excuse me. And, we here now, the fans demanded it. I got a bunch of great features on there. And, I do it for the vibe. I get a vibe first when I'm doing these records.
You feel it.
So you have to. You got to take people on the journey with you. So I had to find the journey where I wanted to go, the right beats for the feeling, you know what I mean? The right order. Just didn't want to throw nobody off. I had to see what was right to me. I went through the order like mad times. And
you're bringing skits
that was
back.
it. Yeah, we had to do the skits.
Like an early album.
Like the first
old
one.
School. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So the people enjoy it. Like I'm getting mad positive response. And I'm so grateful and happy for that because a lot of people, I don't do part 2s or nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one, the fans really called for it. So I really had to
I love it.
just stick my head in there and
Well, Wu-Tang is special and it's global. And so to see you out here making the music still while you guys are on the reunion tour, which we had some of your colleagues in about, is amazing.
Yeah.
You know how fallback works. So tell us what's on your fallback list.
On my fallback list is you want to talk healthcare first?
Sure.
So healthcare prices going up, because everyone says insurance prices are going up. I'd like that to fall back for obvious reasons, but I want to sort of put a little like nuance on this.
Yeah.
Which is we always blame the health insurance companies for what's going on. We never blame our employers, because the truth is the reason why our health insurance costs go up is not because the insurance companies say it goes up. It's because our employers, which basically pay the health insurance companies, are paying them to reduce their costs. Their costs, the employer's costs. And so there's
passing that on.
So say it again. They're
Okay, so what's always happening is we're always like, oh, it's the insurance companies, it's insurance companies. But what really happens is if you're an employer, let's say you're a big company, you call up an insurance company and you say, look, I want to insure all my employees here, but I don't want to pay too much. You got to make sure that it's low.
Right.
Well, if it goes low, if it's going to be lower, who's going to pay that? The employer is going to pay more.
Right, because you're saying
the employee is going to pay more.
But that's inherent to any privatized healthcare, where you have the three-legged stool, where you got the company putting in and the employee.
Right. And I'm not taking away from the insurance companies that are doing this. And the insurance companies are the ones that are saying, yes, the rates are up. But I'm saying the real reason that the rate is going up is in part because the employer is not taking on the additional costs.
Right. And then it becomes, where's the pressure go on that? By the way, if you have organized labor, that's one of the things they try to work on, by the way.
Yes.
All right. What's on your fallback list, Ghostface? You were telling us about, go ahead.
Yeah, my fallback, what was it? It was the Cardi B thing.
You were talking about paparazzi and this sort of digital culture we're in. And
yeah. The paparazzi sometimes got to learn how to fall back. Because you run up on people. We go through things in life. You might wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Like people we go home with problems.
Right.
It's not about the money or nothing like that. My life is my life. Your life is your life. But for you just to get ahead and be running up and disrespecting people most of the time and putting certain things, it's like, we try to live you can't really live a private life.
Right.
But you go ahead and just be catching. I might dig up my nose. You might catch the flick like that and just put it out there like that.
Well, we've seen this from Princess Di to the way they stalk Justin Bieber, and then people now with the internet, people watch more of the videos. It's not even just the photos like the old days. People watch the
video of them taking the picture.
And then they get aggressive because if you're doing something boring, they try to get at you and make you do something more.
Right. And that's not good because you never know what state of mind that person could be in. Like I heard she just threw a mark at the guy or something like that.
Yeah, they got into some sort of scuffle.
Yeah, but it's like, she's just coming out of court. The person I think was suing her for like $20-something million or something like whatever it was. And it's like, then here you go talking about who's the baby's father, I think it was, of your child and this and that. It's like, the girl's already pissed off. You know what I mean? She could have been up 5 or 6, 4 o'clock in the morning, and here you go. And like that's on my fallback. They just need to fall back sometimes.
And as someone who, you'll be up in front of 30,000 fans sometimes, right?
Of course.
Of course. That's bigger than Deal Book.
Yeah.
So as someone who knows the fans, it goes both ways. We love music, we love culture, but the celebrity thing, it seems to get out of control. When the 30,000 fans, they go home, they want a piece of you, they want to trade the content.
Right.
It's like, where does it end?
I mean, I think that's just the people, bro. I think it never ends. Like, I think that's going to continue to go on. Because, they look at you like I'm the same person, whether I'm out or in. You know what I mean? I don't know how they look at me on the outside like some type of ghost face or you a king or whatever, but I'm just like you.
We
just got a different job.
You know what we look at? We look at you like a superhero coming right out of Shaolin. That's how we look at you.
Right, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I just got a job I got to do.
Is the paparazzi thing worse now that it's not just like paid paparazzi? It's now everybody, right? Who's coming up to you? Everybody. It's everybody.
They just catch you. I remember it's crazy because I was on stage one day and some barber messed me up, and my other barber tried to camouflage, my real barber tried to camouflage it with Just for Men, right? And I had the mark on my face, and I get caught on the screen and it's everywhere the next day. My guy come to me like, yo, you made it on TikTok, baby. Here you go. They show the line and everything up there. But I'm like, it's these cameras.
Right.
You know what I mean? But just like going back to what you were saying, just it's
But
everybody.
Ghostface,
popping.
now I got, news. We do the fact checking.
Right.
That might be a barber problem.
No, one of Raekwon's guys took it a little bit. He was drunk and he took it down.
So that's what I'm
That's what
saying.
I'm saying, yeah.
I'm
But
saying
then
that could
my man-
also be on the barber.
Yeah, it starts there first.
No disrespect.
Yeah, no disrespect. But he know what he did because that's why I got it for free after that. Because I tell him like, yo, you went down. But my barber try to cover it up. Like
Right. And
put the
then,
line
but then
back.
they're trying to embarrass. All right, I got 40
Yeah,
seconds, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, Andrew Ross Sorkin, tie it all together for us.
Cream. That's how I'm going to tie it together.
Please.
Right? It's all about the money in the end. And if you think about, you got the paparazzi. That's a money story. What's everyone's incentive?
Right.
All this about
Why?
incentives,
Mhm.
right? The paparazzi's incented. By the way, you're incented because you want the like on your TikTok, so you're
Mhm.
incented to do it yourself.
Right.
The corporations are incented not to pay for your health insurance because they want the profits. And we're incented to be here because we love you, Ari.
Bingo.
Wow.
That was
Smart
it.
guy.
Nah, he did it right. I like that right there.
I love both
that.
of you.
Yeah, I
love
like that.
seeing you guys together.
Yeah, I like that.
Ghostface Killer, Andrew Ross Sorkin. Check out the new album. Thanks for watching The Beat with Ari Melber.